Today I'm going to talk about philately. Philately is nothing but the study of postal stamps, postmarks, postcards, and related philatelic items. Philately was a word coined by George Herpin, and he was a stamp collector too. Before getting into philately, I would like to bring into attention a bit of history that is related to the birth of the stamp. In the 18th and 19th century, it was very hard to send letters to each other. The reason why, because the person who sends the letter had a lower cost associated with sending letter as compared to the recipient or the person who receives the letter. Yes, you heard it right. In this time, the person who sends the letter or the sender is the person who bears the expenses. But in ancient times, in olden ages, the situation was different. It was the person who receives the post who used to spend the hard part of it, the large part of it, the most of those expenses. However, now things have changed. The reason we have this change is because of an idea of a great postal administrator, Sir Rowland Hill. Sir Rowland Hill was a teacher by profession who used to work in his dad's school, Hilltop. He was a creative child from the starting of his younger ages, and he went to the school and made a lot of innovations in his dad's school, including creating the most modern library in those old ages, and even creating facilities like swimming pool which would attract kids' attention towards the school. You have to understand that this is 200 years plus, when I'm talking about that. Later, after doing a lot of things in his dad's school, he came to the postal service. When he came to postal service, he understood that when a person sends letter, it's not the person who sends the letter who takes the majority part of the payment, but it is the person who receives the letter. It is very hard. At times, it was very hard for a common man to bear the expenses of the letter they used to receive at that time. And even more worrying was the fact that the letters sent were prominently rejected just because certain people did not have enough money to go ahead and pay for those letters. So he thought for a while. Then he understood that, why don't we make this postal thing a prepaid thing? Yes, prepaid. That means the person who is going to send the letter, the sender, has to bear the expenses. He has to pay a particular expense or a price based on the expense, the distance covered. And he thought of bringing uniformity through the postal stamp process. That was the big story behind the bringing up of stamp. The first stamp in the world, penny black, was issued on May 1st, 1840, and the public was supposed to use the stamp from the 6th of May, 1840. The coming of stamp revolutionized the postal system, not only in United Kingdom, which was the country which bought the stamps, but also in the entire world. Today, we send a lot of letters. Today, we get a lot of replies through letters. Today, we get a lot of documents and other paperwork through stamps and letters. Yes, everything that comes today, most of them has stamps on it. Now, getting back to what stamp is. A stamp is a piece of paper that can also be considered as a knowledge window. And when I talk about that, I want to tell you that any stamp can be analyzed based on few points that I'm going to tell you. I'm going to show you a stamp through which you can understand what are the parts of a stamp. In other words, the anatomy of a stamp. The stamp which I have here is a special stamp. It is nothing but a Thailand post issued stamp, and it is the longest stamp in the world. Yes, you heard it right. Now, I want to tell you how I'm going to interpret this stamp. Every stamp that you see, a postal stamp in specific, will have a central theme or image which is nothing but vignette. This vignette is the central theme or the theme, a main theme of a stamp. Here you find a very long stamp. This stamp was issued in the year 2017. Yes, here you find the year of the stamp. This year is also a part of stamp. Every stamp which is issued will have a year associated with it, and there will be something relevant to the year. The relevance of this year is that this stamp was bought in accordance of the 70th birth anniversary celebration of the monarch of Thailand, Rama IX. Now, when you dig deep into it, you will understand that all the rulers, all the monarchs of Thailand had their name as Rama, and this was Rama IX stamp which was issued. So another thing that you can find here is the amount on stamp and also the issuing nation, which is Thailand. These are the major things that you need to understand, or which is related to the part of the stamp. Another very important thing is nothing but these lines, these small spiral sort of lines, which are called perforations. Perforation is nothing but the portion which separates one stamp from another. These are also called the border of stamps. So there are major things that you need to understand in a stamp. First thing, the vignette, which is the central theme associated with the stamp. Second, the issuing country. Third, the year of issue. Fourth is nothing but the relevance, what is associated. Fifth, the face value. And of course, the sixth one is perforation. When you dig deep, when you take a stamp as a part, or when you do the anatomy of it, these are the 6 things that you need to keep in mind while dealing with any stamps. All the nations of the world have their names written on stamps. In India, for instance, India's name is mentioned as Bharat or India. Many world nations have many names associated with that. Norge for Norway is another example. Or you can, Sri Lanka has its name as Sri Lanka. China has its name as Republic of China, etc., etc. There are many things that you would find on stamps. Now, there is only one nation in the world which does not have its name mentioned on stamps. Yes, you heard it right. All the stamps issued in one particular nation will not have its name mentioned on stamp, and that stamp is nothing but United Kingdom. You find this, there are perforations, there is a Queen's head, which is the Queen Elizabeth, there is a value, a face value associated with the stamp. All those things are there, vignette is there, everything, perforation, everything is there, but there is no nation name mentioned on the stamp, and that nation is United Kingdom or Britain. And the reason we do not find a country name or a nation name on a stamp is because that was the first country to issue stamps. So these are the things that you need to understand while dealing with a part of a stamp. Now, there are a lot of things that you need to know about philately and stamp. Another thing that I would like to bring to your attention is types of stamps. There are 2 types of stamps in specific. One is definitive stamps. What are these definitive stamps? Now, this stamp which I'm going to show you is an example of definitive stamps. Here, it's a stamp of Jawaharlal Nehru, 25 paise stamp issued by India. It has perforation. The central theme is Jawaharlal Nehru. Now, what are these definitive stamps? These stamps are the stamps that you regularly find on the post cover. These stamps are the stamps that are printed by the government or the postal department by large numbers. They are printed in lot of numbers because they have to be used for regular postage usages. And that's the reason they are called definitive stamps, and these are easily available across all the post offices. Now, there is a second variety of stamp. That second variety of stamp is nothing but commemorative stamp. Commemorative stamps are special stamps, specific stamps, and they are not printed in large volumes or large numbers. They are printed in limited numbers, and most of these commemorative stamps are found in philatelic bureaus, and you can get it from philatelic bureaus or if you have a postal account with the India Post. Now, I'm going to show you an example of a commemorative stamp, and this one is a commemorative stamp. This stamp is an Indian stamp on the theme Ramayana, and you can find the face value of the stamp. You can find the reason why it was issued, it is Ramayana, and the year of issuance, which is also mentioned as 2017. So what makes commemorative stamps rare? As I told earlier, commemorative stamps are the ones that are printed in lower numbers or limited quantity. And why are these printed? These are printed to commemorate special events or certain prominent personalities, something that happened, like some games or some activities that happened, and these are only printed on a particular occasion. And as these commemorative stamps are not printed in very large numbers, it makes itself a bit of rarity as compared to the definitive stamps. There is another categorization of stamps. If you categorize it in another way, there is another category called mint stamps and cancel stamps. What is mint stamp? Mint stamp, again, when you look at this Jawaharlal Nehru stamp, which is a definitive stamp, you can see that this is in fresh condition and it has not been sealed. So any stamp that you get from post office or anywhere which does not have a seal is called a mint stamp. These can be used. But when a mint stamp is used on an envelope and it has a cancellation or it has a seal to it, that's when you call it a cancel stamp or used stamp. So as I told, the categorization, one is commemorative stamp, the other one is definitive stamp. And similar way, I gave another categorization for any stamp that you can think of. One is mint stamp, which is unused stamp. Another one is cancel stamp or used stamp. So this is what you need to know about stamps. Now moving ahead, I would like to tell you that you can collect many sort of philatelic materials from post office, or you can exchange your stamps with friends. You can buy stamps from certain dealers, and there are many things that you can collect. Now, what else apart from stamps can you collect? That's the question. Yes, you can collect something like a postcard. You can collect something like a brochure. Brochure is something that you get from the India Post. It is based on, a stamp being issued. You can see that there's a Dandi March thing that you can understand from this brochure. One important thing that I understand here is nothing but if you look very closely here, you can see that whatever is seen here is about Dandi March. Why it happened, why the stamp was issued. See, there are a lot of things that you can find from the brochure. Another striking thing that you can understand is, see, stamp and FBC, who did it, cancellation, who did it, the date of issuance of this particular stamp, the denominations that this particular stamps carry, etc., etc., the printing process and where it was printed, how many quantities were printed, etc., etc. You can also collect sheetlets like this. You can always collect, this is another stamp. This is actually in mint condition. This is the stamp of Dhirubhai Ambani, but the stamp isn't, it's together. You can see that there are 4 stamps, and this is called block of 4, which is another attraction. You can find a few other things here, which is nothing but first day covers. First day covers, I'll give you a closer view at it so that you can understand This particular cover is on the famous industrialist Aditya Birla. You can find here. This is actually the first day cover, and when you can see here that it was issued in 2013, on the day which it was issued, there was a stamp which was pasted on a cover, and it was cancelled with the importance, and it has something written called first day cover, and this is also something that you can go ahead and collect. Another one important thing is nothing but miniature sheet. This is a Gandhian stamp issued. This is a Gandhian miniature sheet which was issued in 2019 in accordance with the 150th birth anniversary celebration of Father of our nation Mahatma Gandhi, and you can find 2 stamps on it. So miniature sheet is nothing but stamps on sheets for the most basic understanding, and here you can find those stamps, 2 stamps covered on a sheet. This is what it is. Then there is something called special cover. Sometimes, or most of the times, there are plenty of personalities whose stamps were not issued. However, on particular occasions, or whenever there is some sort of exhibitions that is conducted by the philatelic bureaus or the Department of India Post, that's when these personalities are commemorated through special covers. And a best example for this would be a special day cover issued on Anant Pai in the year 2019 in the Mangaluru, Karnataka PEX exhibition. And this stamp is about Ramayana. However, on this a picture is of Anant Pai, who is well known as Uncle Pai. He was actually born in Karkala in the Dakshin Kannada district, and the reason he was commemorated on this particular cover is because of his contribution through the well-known books Amar Chitrakatha and Tinker. He was a person behind these comics getting familiar to kids and has inspired generations. So he was commemorated on a special day cover, and it was issued in his relevance. Apart from this, what you can collect is something like a very old post telegram which I have. Telegram. This is also something very, very important. This telegram is actually being sent from India to Pakistan, and telegrams are also another postal material that one can explore. Nowadays we don't have telegrams. There are end varieties of things that one can collect. These include odd-shaped stamps. What are odd-shaped stamps? Something like a round stamp, a glowing stamp, a fragment stamp, or it can even be a chocolate stamp. Apart from this, you can collect some other unusual items like this, which is nothing but, now I'm going to show you a miniature sheet of a Thailand stamp here, which is the 3D motion stamp on Ramayana. How beautiful is it? It looks so superb, and I would like to tell you, these are also something that one can collect at your time. And now, I am going to tell you something more important. Now I tell you what to collect and how to collect. Now, how do you arrange these stamps in the right order? Or what are the different types of collections? The different type of collection is something that all would eagerly love to know. There are 3 types of stamp collection. 1, you get all stamps from all the places that you want. You dump it somewhere in a stamp stock book. It is called general collection. Yes, general collection. You get a lot of stamps from many places. You accumulate it, you put it in a stamp stock book. That's what is called general collection. The second type of collection is called country-wise collection. What is country-wide collection? Country-wide collection is nothing but when you collect stamps based on country names in specific. You collected some stamps from Britain, you collect some stamps from Australia, you collect some stamps from United States of America, you collect stamps from India, and then you keep it in an album by arranging them in a country-wise order. That's what's called country-wise collection. Now, the third collection, which is mostly the very important of it. The third type of collection is called thematic collection. Thematic means based on themes. It is also called topical collection. What do you mean by themes? Themes are nothing but subjects. Subjects for study. The most serious philatelist or the most serious of stamp collectors would love to collect stamps based on themes. A theme can be anything. A theme can be something like a vehicle, where you collect stamps of certain vehicles. A theme can be sometimes a butterfly that you see in your garden. You collect stamps of butterflies. Or it can be a train. People collect stamps on trains. Or it can be a person like Gandhi, only collecting Gandhi stamps and putting in an album. And a theme can be something like a cartoon. You can see certain cartoon stamps which I have put in a very small folder. So this is a thematic stamp collection from across the globe. It's a very small one for showing you it as an example. And the next question would be, how do you acquire these stamps, or how do you collect these stamps? Stamps, as I told earlier, can be collected from post offices, the definitive ones for sure, but for the commemorative ones, you need to collect it from India Post Office philatelic bureaus, so that if you do not want to miss a particular stamp or a particular issue of stamp, you have to have a philatelic account with any of the philatelic bureaus in India, and they send you the latest stamps to your home, right, where you can sit at home and you can collect. The other way of collecting is through exchange. If you have some stamps, you can swap it with your friends or somebody who you know collecting stamps. Another way is to get it from certain offices. You can go and see that there are a lot of offices in India where they get a lot of postal envelopes. You can go, and if you know somebody there, you can ask them to collect it for you and take it. Another way is getting stamps through dealers. Stamps through dealers means you purchase stamps from people who sell stamps. So that's how you collect the stamps. Now, the big question. Can I collect all the stamps? Well, as a philatelist, I would say you can collect all the stamps as long as you are a general collector. But if you are a serious collector, if you are a thematic collector or a topical collector, I would request you to accumulate only those stamps that are beneficial for you. Before getting a stamp, understand why you're collecting. Does that add value to your collection or not? Two questions that you need to understand. Now, what are the benefits of philately? Philately is an ocean of opportunities. Philately is nothing but a knowledge window. I would say stamps are knowledge windows rather, and say that every stamp that you see in your day-to-day life is a learning opportunity, and it can accumulate knowledge, it can increase, upgrade your IQ levels. If at all children are exposed to stamp collection, even though it's not a very trendy hobby, it is certainly a creative hobby. If a child is introduced to stamp collection at a very tender age, the IQ level of the child starts improving, as well as the creative aspect. Moreover, they will always have more patience than their counterparts. Patience, it increases patience level in a child. Also, the biggest thing that a child or a person can benefit from stamp collection is increasing curiosity. Curiosity. Finding out things. Why and how. That itself will make a child or a person a real explorer. So these are the benefits that I told on a knowledge aspect and based on IQ. But there are some monetary benefits as well. If you collect the right stamps, if you collect the rare ones, you always have a better collection than your friends. And definitely there is one thing. Your stamp value increases. The stamp value increases. And at the end of many years down the line, you would be having a handful of very, very rare, amazingly well stamps. At one point, if you want to stop collection, you always have an option to sell it as well. So the monetary value of stamps always increases. But the only thing is that you have to understand which are the rare ones, and you have to collect it accordingly. Lastly, the future of philately. The future of philately is still shining. The reason why, because These paper pieces called stamps can give you a lot of knowledge now and tomorrow. Yesterday, the stamp of yesterday is a stamp for today, and it will be a stamp forever. When I say that, a stamp which was printed yesterday, I have it in my hand. I have a lot of things associated with that. Stamps carries history. They throw light on cultures, how every nation has things in place. When you look at a stamp issued by any nation, it gives a lot of ideas about lifestyle, their history, their artistic perspective of it, their culture, and many, many things that is very hard to tell and explain. So the best thing I would suggest the young minds, the young people who are watching this is to open a philatelic account and start stamp collection, start swapping stamps, and also get the best sort of collection. I would wholeheartedly like to thank India Post and Pacific and Central Postal Region for giving me this opportunity to give a short talk on philately. Philately is a lovely hobby. It is not a trendy hobby, but it is a curious hobby that can bring in wonders in anybody who gets into it. Well, this is the right time. The lockdown remains as the right time to get into a creative, curious hobby like philately. And definitely, this is a platform for the youngsters and anyone who want to come here and collect stamps, gain some knowledge, and do understand certain adventurous things that only a philatelist can understand. So, in my personal capacity, I was a philatelist from a very tender age. I started collecting when I was 5, and right now I work as a teacher. However, I would like to say that this is the best thing that any child can get into. This is the best. Why? Because lot of things remain inside philately. The wonders that one can go and explore is something that I can't just say in a very short or 25-30 minutes video, but you certainly have to explore and find out how it is going to benefit. I would urge all the youngsters, the youth, to come in large numbers, and if at all it entices you, get into it and start collecting stamps. Happy collecting once again. I offer my wishes on Philately Day. Let October 12th be a new beginning for many. Thank you. Love.